everyone, Jim with the G here, live on location with my good buddy, Jim Dettore. Jim, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, George, I've been doing this heavy equipment thing for a little over 40 years now, and my name's Jim Dettore, and I'm president of Failure Analysis Services Incorporated, and we're a failure analysis training company. My wife and I, we travel the country all year long for the most part in a travel trailer that we're in now, and teach failure analysis training classes and do consults on component failures all over the country for different mines, different equipment dealerships, some major manufacturers, as well as a lot in oil and gas, primarily gas compression.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the crux of what we do, is teaching
Good.
failure analysis.
That's cool. I didn't know that gas compression industry was so huge until you said it the last time we met. Because you're on their podcast and you write for their magazine and stuff like that. But that was crazy when I went into that world, how huge it was. Natural gas engines like that. That's crazy. I didn't know there were
millions of horsepower out there. Yeah, spinning compressors and pushing gas down the pipeline.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've been trying to get you on the show for a long time. Obviously, not super long time. When I was first starting all this, I said, you're the one that I need to get on here because you're the most known. And then that's really hard to do in this field because of the turnaround rate and, the vast amount of dealerships. When you add that with the turnaround rate, the odds of somebody being there a year or two later isn't happening. But
sure,
you said you travel most of the year teaching and training, so you touch a lot of people. And
quite a few, yeah, about 600 a year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like I said, so you're like, you're a prime, candidate for this. So, when I met you, what, 3 or 4 years ago, I was amazed at the way you taught and the way you did stuff, because it's very hard to find people that are passionate about what they do. And when and I'm not the only one, everybody says it when they meet you, like, man, that guy really loves things that are broken. He talks about it and you just feel the passion he has, and then last year, like I said, I tried to get you on podcast, but from there to now, you made some changes. You added people, you've grown more, which is incredible because it's a lot, to do that and continue to run. That's hard to do in the amount of time you did it.
It's been a blessing for sure, but we've grown exponentially. So, when we first started, our first year, we did 6 classes. Not a lot of income, by the way. But we grew quite a bit up until 2019. And I think we did 30 classes that year. And then the COVID hit.
Yeah.
And we were back to 6. And that was kind of a drag. But now, yeah, we've got another trainer. Great experienced guy. Awesome educator. His name's Greg Haas. And just a brilliant failure analyst. Greg does a great job for us. He probably does between 12 and 15 classes a year, and I pick up the crux of that. And we've just recently hired another individual, so he'll be getting up to speed in the next couple of months, and he'll be teaching classes for us as well. But now we're knocking out just under 50 classes a year.
That's good.
So business has been really good. Like I said, it's been a blessing, and then with the magazine, I've been writing for Gas Compression magazine, their What Went Wrong column, for I think September is going to be 3 years now.
That's cool.
And then, so I think that's obviously helped a lot. I don't want free advertisement, but yeah, people get to see what we do, and that's generated some business for us. And now, Engine Professional magazine, which is a Automotive Engine Rebuilders Association publication, they're republishing that column now. So I'm curious to see what happens going in that direction, because they're wanting to get more into heavy duty stuff. So I'm pretty excited about that. So bringing the new trainer on, and I think we're going to experience significant growth over the next couple of years. So, and just being able to teach people and change their lives, change their perspective, give them skills and knowledge that apply more to just than a specific system like an engine or a hydraulic system, but they can use it for personnel problems or equipment problems, it's very gratifying.
Like I said, it's crazy how what goes into everything, like how meticulous it can really get. And then once you teach, and when you show everybody, oh, look for this. Oh, yeah, this was happening. Look, because it has this. You're like, oh man, it's all been right there the whole time. It's all, and then you say it, it's kind of like, oh, connect the gray area, and you're like, oh yeah, look, that makes sense. Yeah, of course. Why'd I think this happened when, of course, everything's right there. And
The
it's
preconceived ideas, man.
exactly
Everybody gets them, including myself.
preconceived ideas. That's a huge thing. I talked a lot about that on my troubleshooting episode.
Yeah.
Because that's the biggest problem with technicians is, oh, I've seen this 1,000 times. Hey, you might want to check first before you run.
Well, George, I look at a lot of fails
Yeah.
components, right? And I can tell you, 12 different engines that had bearing failures where the failure mode of the bearing was almost identical, but the root cause, 12 different root causes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's amazing.
you can't make assumptions. You have to work on the fact gathering. How we drive that into the
Yeah.
students. It's all about gathering facts and kind of like I tell the guys in class that it's like that show CSI,
Yeah.
right? Crime scene investigators, right? But this is more forensic analysis of metal destruction. So it's a lot of fun.
So I'm glad you said gather facts, because like after I learned that portion of your class, like what is and what isn't, and that has helped me and helped a lot of technicians, because I've read that into her, because you apply it to other things.
Sure, absolutely.
And dealing with a manufacturer and being the middleman that I became, it's very hard to explain to technicians why you need something, and then why the manufacturer explain to you why they need it, and they don't give you a reason. So when you go, look, you can't argue with this. This is there. If you do the troubleshooting, you write it down, they can't argue. I know it's stupid. I know you're redundant, but it's a fact.
Yeah.
So when they get that fact, because mind you, they're not there, and you deal with this too, because you have to articulate yourself to people when they send you stuff, and you do stuff over the phone and stuff. You got to go with what is there, because that's the only thing that's not a variable. It's there. That's it.
It either is or it isn't.
Yeah.
And I've had some reliability engineers. We'd put a report together, and we have to do it over a Zoom meeting or maybe just a voice in the air on a phone call. And I get this reliability engineer that wants to speculate and pretend if it was like this or if it was like that, and I just have to put the brakes on.
Yeah.
I can't do that, because we only work with facts. And by about the third time I say that, they stop pushing that hey, that's all we're dealing with is factual data.
Yeah.
So facts are hard to refute, right? But not only gathering those facts and writing everything down, but really taking high quality images that also tell the story, so it helps kind of support your synopsis of the failure.
Yeah. Well, you got to have proof.
Absolutely.
Without the proof,
it didn't happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, it's it's crazy what goes into everything in one, and how, because on my level, you got to deal with the customer, and you got to deal with the stories and this happened. Like, we had a machine that fell into a hole backwards, and I went out with the technician. I'll show you the picture after we get done here. It's pretty funny. I mean, it was like a 12-foot, 14-foot hole. It just back straight down. Yeah. So it was a hell of a ride.
Yeah.
So when I get there is a tree lodged through the foot pedals and the monitor straight out the side window.
Oh my goodness.
And he goes, it just walked backwards of mind of its own. And I'm like, it walked backwards mind of its own? I go, why is this tree lodged between your foot pedals? And it just so happenly walked back 10 feet into the hole when your foot pedals are facing backwards. Oh, it just started going crazy and swung me into the thing. And they pulled the line. Oh, there's supposedly there's Indian mounds around here, Indian burial ground. And I'm like, so me and the guy I brought
it was
with
voodoo, huh?
Yeah. So me and the guy I brought with me, he's like, oh, this and that. I go, you swung into the tree, and when you swung into the tree, it pushed you back in the hole. So we brought back to the shop. We had to take all the oil samples, because the engine had been running at an extreme angle.
Sure.
For about 45 minutes till he got out of the machine. which I don't know why he didn't. I guess, when you crap your pants that bad, you don't think to shut the machine off. Um, so what I had to do, I had to bring a monitor with me so I can plug it in and see what was going on to make sure I can get it out of the hole.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they wouldn't drive it out. They're like, "Oh no, we ain't doing that. It's a haunted machine. That machine ain't haunted." But we had to go through the whole thing. We had to take oil samples, make sure the engine was okay, make sure the hydraulics were okay,
Sure.
and stuff like that. But it ended up being that's what it was. Now we couldn't. Customer didn't want to hear that, so we had to play the machine had a malfunction, um, and that's what it was. And then they got it claimed on insurance, whatever. It was a one-time deal, and so they went there. But that was I'd say the insurance because we actually had recently one of the insurance companies that had a machine go down. They sent a failure analysis guy to look at that engine that they had the parts. So when the piston went through the block.
That's what somebody was saying.
Yeah, and that was the first time that's ever happened. We were
Yeah.
like, "What do you mean they sent an engineer? Oh
We've-
yeah, he's gonna tell us why it broke. We'll tell you why it broke, But yeah. So have you gotten into doing any of the insurance stuff now that apparently that's what they're leaning towards, getting factual answers from people?
So we've trained some of the insurance inspectors,
Oh, okay.
right? But actually doing insurance jobs, ourselves, yes, but not working directly with the insurance company.
Okay.
It's usually the insurance company does their investigation, and then customer wants a third party
Yeah.
opinion, and sometimes we get involved with that, but those are few and far between.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times it's the failure that's occurred after a repair or an overhaul's been performed, right? And then the customer wants answers, right? Because a lot of times if it's like a third party, the aftermarket services company that's doing the work,
Uh-huh.
then it's just between them and the customer. So the customer wants to bring an SME in and get some factual data and some good images and produce a report for them. Usually when we do that, what's kind of interesting, when we go through that process, we go through 3 phases with the customer. The first one is denial,
Yeah.
right? And it's anger,
Yeah.
not mad at us, mad at the situation because most of the time it was preventable,
Yeah.
right? And then we move on to acceptance. But when we get involved with situations like that, they can get sticky,
Yeah.
right? We've dealt with some really big players in a couple of the industries that we work in, where they get a little bit sideways with the manufacturer, and we're talking millions of dollars, and you got to dot the i's and cross the t's and make sure that everything is supported with factual data and again excellent images. So yeah, occasionally.
Yeah. So we had an engine failure. This was 2 months ago. Guy brought it in, engine locked up, and Frankie goes, "Hey, need to see what happened to this engine." And they're saying that it's sabotaged. Somebody let all the oil out. I go, okay. So I look, obviously all come out to equipment has the GPS contract, so you can see what it was doing.
Sure.
Failure codes, how long it ran, what it did, how long they were idling, stuff like that. So when I look at it, I keep seeing low oil, low oil, low oil for like months back.
Yeah.
And I go, "Hey buddy, this wasn't sabotage." I go, "We have a problem, and we're gonna go into the engine and see what's going on." And the sheriff shows we take off the hood, take off the intake, look at the turbo. It's just flopping in there. So and and the kicker was like right before I found that, the kid sent a video of it smoking and running away. And I'm like, okay. So
Uh-oh.
yeah,
That's
so
not
we
good.
look in the aftercooler and it's full of oil.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
so obviously this thing had turbo problems from the get go.
Turbo's feeding it.
Yeah,
Fuel.
turbo's
Yeah.
just dumping oil into the intake.
No, well, yeah,
And then it ran out of oil.
yeah.
It just ran out.
Oil
And the operator,
consumption.
yeah. So when I had to sit down and have that conversation, of course, everybody big up was in there because this was gonna go, "Hey, look, I'm not saying you do whatever you need to do. We work for you, but this wasn't sabotage. There's definitely proof that You weren't putting oil, your operator wasn't putting oil in the machine because it was losing oil. When at the third time you had put oil in and stuff, you should have said, hey, we have a problem. And he didn't do that. And he goes, well, that would explain why I have power problems too. And I'm like, you have turbo low speed air, all this stuff indicating there's something wrong. And you were just putting oil in it and pushing along. So when you got to gather the facts, customers definitely get frustrated because now they're like, well, I thought I was going to get insurance money. Well, you can do whatever you want with your insurance. Yeah. They don't have access to what we have. So you can tell them whatever you want, or, we got to go by what you're saying. If you're saying it's sabotage,
you're going
it's
to prove
sabotage.
it. Yeah.
It's sabotage. Again, that's what the customer said. So, so like I said, getting the facts, not everybody likes the truth. The truth is the most hurtful thing.
And the iron never lies.
It never does. It never does.
Always tells the truth.
And I tell people about, because I'm a big electronics guy. Everybody tell you, electrical troubleshooting's
your thing. Yeah, thing. That's great. Yeah.
And a lot of people like, oh, it's a controller. Never the controller. I go, the controller's telling you something. See what it's telling you. It just doesn't know how to tell you because they didn't tell it how to tell you. And, and there's a lot of times where the information we have is wrong, and when you gather all the facts and you go through the motion, it's like, it's not fixed. What the hell? We had a D71 that was throwing fan EPC codes. So saying that the EPC was open. Okay. When you went to the troubleshooting, it told you that it was the EPC on the charge pump. Now, the D71 differs from the D39, 61, 30, 51s, where the charge pump is variable. So, and, it provides, whatever to the control valve. And it would showing you to that troubleshoot that solenoid. And I'm like, that's weird because it should have a solenoid on the control valve. That's what I'll do. And they go, oh, the troubleshooting says, all right, well, do the troubleshooting. And of course, I'll do the troubleshooting. I had 3 different guys go out and do the troubleshooting. And they go, oh, it's got to be the controller. I go, it might be the solenoid because I've had solenoids go bad where as soon as they get current run through them, they short out because the coils aren't touching until they have current. And he goes, okay, well, so they send me. I'm the last one here, and I got to go out and go see. So I go put the solenoid in.
There's been 5 guys before you.
Yeah. So I go in and go in and put the solenoid in, and problem's still there. It's like, all right, maybe we have a wire in the harness that's only connected by one strand, and when it goes through, it doesn't hold the load and it throws an open circuit. So I run overlays. So I run it because it's easier to run it on the power side than the ground side because the ground goes to multiple things. So and there was one connector before the main connector, so it goes on its own. Then it all junctions before it goes to the controller. So I make an overlay. Still got the code. All right. Well, let me see if it's the power wire coming from the controller. So I unpin and repin with the wire I made, pin it back, still doing the same thing. So and then I go, all right, it's the ground. So I take that ground off, and then I run the ground to a junction where it was at another spot. So I make a little thing, a little T, and I wire into there, and it's still throwing it. So I go, oh, it's not a ground problem, because I've taken it out of the situation. It's not a wire problem. It's not a solenoid problem, and they just put a brand new controller in it. So we got another problem. So while I was finagling and trying to see what I can make it do, it throws another code for the open circuit of the charge pump because I left it unplugged. And I'm like, hey, hold the phone. So of course I go, all right, if that's that. So of course I go to that solenoid on the control valve, and it was good, but the wire, which was about a 4-foot wire, was broken. So a 20-minute overlay was the problem, but because we were led in the wrong direction by the facts we were told to get, it did that. Which you don't have that problem, but
no, we actually do.
Oh, okay.
So that was my thing when I was in a service truck. Is I did a lot of electrical and electronic troubleshooting, and I've taught it quite a bit over the years too. But I prided myself in my troubleshooting abilities, and I'd come up with people would say unorthodox methods for figuring stuff out, but a lot of times with an electrical component problem or a circuit, a sender, a switch, a sensor, a harness problem, connector problem, if you can change state
Yeah.
of it through your troubleshooting, you kind of narrowed it down, right?
Yeah.
And boy, teaching guys about voltage drop. Everybody wants to use their own meter on testing everything, and it has its place. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but like you said with current flow, well, if I have 10 strands of wire and I'm supposed to send a certain amount of amperage through that wire, and 9 of them are broken, it's tough to push all that
Yeah.
through a small hole, if you
Yeah.
will, and voltage drop exposes that. But once guys understand it, that's very helpful. But understanding the system can be such a huge benefit
Yeah.
to your troubleshooting abilities instead of just reading the steps in the book.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times the reality, the steps in the book, they're written by an engineer. Can't discount that at all. But what that engineer hasn't necessarily experienced is every day in the field,
Yeah.
working with the different problems that are posed. The tree through the cab, right? The mouse that chewed the wires,
Yeah.
or something like that, or the guy that was pulling on the wires and a pin came out of a connector, stuff like that. Yeah, it's a lot of times when you're troubleshooting, like with a code, a diagnostic code or a fault code, that gives you an area to look. It doesn't tell you what the problem is.
Yeah.
You have to be able to troubleshoot it. But some guys they're going after, well, I've got this code, so it means I need to replace this part. No, it means you need to check that part in that circuit, and not understanding how it gets you in trouble.
Yeah. And more lately, and of the automotive industry have really gone to this. They don't really hire technicians. They hire people that just follow directions.
Sure. Yeah.
It's, and you can't,
depending on the manufacturer. Yes,
yeah,
sir. Yeah.
and you can't blame them because it's, you replace a part, you got 50-50 shot. So
Yeah.
so
we call it load the parts cannon.
Yeah. So I have a big hatred with parts changers and stuff like that. But when we don't have the ability to do nothing else but that, because manufacturers are going away from teaching the stuff. They want to teach you how to read, and as hard as that's getting,
or watch a video.
Yeah, or watch a video. They don't want you to know the rest. They just want you to know what you need to know to do this. And when you start figuring out, look at that, you see it's everywhere. Like one of the reasons I left AutoZone is because I'd be there and I'd be managing people that have worked there for 20 something years. And it's like, why aren't they doing anything? Oh, because they didn't want to work with them. Well, because I can talk to people a little better, and I applied myself good, but AutoZone doesn't hire people that know stuff about cars anymore. They hire people to sell things. Why? Because it's a business. It's about making money. And it is very hard to try to teach the younger guys how to separate that. Because they want to be the best. They want to do good.
They want it quickly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They want to do it as fast as they can. And, and be, I'm that badass technician. I do it fast. Okay, it's cool. It's going to work for a little while, And in the dealership aspect, 90% of the stuff we do is warranty. So, of course, you can do that because you're going out there and it's a failed emissions component most of the time, or, something defective from the manufacturer.
Know that well. Yeah.
So, of course, they get that taste. Oh, yeah, it's easy. But they don't get the hard stuff because stuff isn't as hard as it used to be. They give you enough information. Sorry. They give you enough information now that you know what you need to do. So you don't need to do what happens if I do this? Or what happens if I do that? Or what happens if you put a potentiometer and set a position sensor here and start messing with it? What does it do? But they don't see it that way. But they don't put in the work to see that either.
Well, so it's interesting that you say that, because when I was coming up through dealerships, first dealership that I worked for, they told me when they hired me that they would train me.
Yeah.
So I was squeaky wheel about the training, right? And I'd get 2, 3, sometimes 4 classes a year. some of the guys in the shop were lucky to get one. And, I wasn't going to be like, well, hey, take my spot.
Yeah.
I wanted the training. I was a young guy and an up and a comer. But also there were a lot of guys within the service department that are still there 30 years later doing the same thing they were doing when I started, you know, 30 years ago. And, and some people are driven to continue to excel and
Yeah.
learn new things. And I don't know if it was John Maxwell that made this statement, but the most successful people in life remain teachable their entire careers. Man, I learn new stuff every day.
Yeah.
I've got a library in the cupboard there of failure analysis stuff that is boring to a lot of people, super interesting to me, but always learning, learning from a lot of the young folks, learning from guys like you, that are sharp and see this new current stuff every day, day in, day out. Um, it's invigorating for me to see there's a lot of young people that still want to learn,
Yeah.
but there's some that also think, and I think this is not generational. I think it's been going on forever with every generation, but there's some that want the easy, fast ride to glory, and that doesn't always work out real well.
No.
The guys that put in the work, put in the time, take their licks, you know, apply themselves, constantly learn. Those are the people that we see excel. Now, I'll just say that with the people that we train, we get old guys in class, and they come up on the third day and they're like, man, I wish I'd had this 25 years
Yeah.
ago. I'd have made some different decisions. That makes me feel pretty good. But then we also get a lot of young people that are really interested in what they do, and they're driven. They're into their careers. But I don't know. I hear a lot of people kind of dissing the younger folks or the younger generation that they don't want to learn, they don't want to work, they don't want to work hard. Well, one thing that I think they are very smart about is they understand the value of their personal time much
Yeah.
more than we ever did.
Yeah. No, that
You
is
know what I mean?
that is
And
for
there's
sure.
something to be said for that.
And I have that fight with a lot of me. Now granted, every young technician we've hired hasn't been. For every five we hire, one is actually good.
One
The
sticks,
rest, the
yeah.
rest, the rest never do, and that's because they don't want to. They don't want to put in the effort. Mind you, I don't. Like I said, I'm Lau. I was privileged for Lau to give me control of the reins for the younger generation that
Sure.
come in, and I'm not easy on them. I don't cut them no slack because one, nobody cut me any slack when I was going. That's why I am
Amen.
who I
Yeah,
am.
yeah.
You know, and that place that's still needed, and a lot of people are getting rid of that because every time we're warm and fuzzy. But these kids, they used to get on me because when they used to ask me something, I was really big. I'd go through and I show them how to work, I show them how to fish.
Yeah.
Every day I show them where to find information, where this that. But I can't teach them how to know what they need to take off and what they don't.
Yeah.
I can't teach them to know what they need to use and what they don't. They have to know to use it. Because if I show them, they'll only know how to do just that. And so their biggest thing they hated me for was I always say, figure it out. You know how to read the book, right? Yeah.
Read the
Figure it out.
book, yeah.
He goes, which one I take apart first? Take it all apart.
Yeah.
You'll know after you're done what you don't need to take apart the next time. And he goes,
I've run into this before. So, being service manager and watching a guy, I'd walk through the shop, down the main aisle, and tractors all down in the bays, and I walk by one guy, and I know the job that he's working on, and I'm kind of watching him just for a second as I'm walking by, and I can tell he's struggling a little bit. So I go take care of my business, and 15 minutes later, I come back by, and he's still struggling with it. Right, so I casually walk over there and strike up a conversation. Hey, how's it going today? Oh, pretty good. I said, that one's being a bear, huh? Oh yeah, something's wrong. I can't get this apart. Like, did you happen to look in the manual? Well, I was going to do that next. And I'm thinking, if I had $1 for every time I've heard that, I'd buy a 12-pack of beer probably. But start with that, guys. Start with it. Read the book first. Familiarize yourself with what you're going to be doing. So the first job I had turning wrenches on heavy equipment was for a contractor in Southern California, TC Construction, Terry Cameron Construction. And the guy that was kind of over me at the time, machines would come in from the field. They'd come through the shop. He'd hand me an operation and maintenance manual. This is what you're going to be doing tomorrow. Take it home tonight and study it. And that didn't mean take it home, set it on the table,
Yeah.
or leave it in the truck. That means then sit down, take the time to read through it, understand what you're going to be doing. And then when you do it, you have a lot more familiarity. And you have
Yeah.
not only that, but now relevant things to ask your supervisor questions about. So it never hurts to ask. And that's something else, George, with some of the older guys that are out there. They'll say, oh, these young guys, they don't want to listen. But when a young guy asks that older technician questions,
Yeah.
relevant questions, not the same question over and over and
Yeah.
over again, but relevant questions, a lot of times a seasoned guy will kind of take that individual
Yeah.
under their wing and want to teach them and mentor them. And we need more mentors,
Yeah.
especially now,
Yeah.
right?
No, that's definitely like, because they're all disappearing. They're all going on with their
My
lives.
goodness. Well, that's what you're doing with those young folks
Yeah.
at,
And
at your facility.
you talk about mentors. Obviously, I do the tough love stuff, and it works out. Cause I play sports all my life.
Yeah.
If they're not telling you something, because they don't care about you.
Yeah.
So I tried to go, bring them up that way. And when you got kids that didn't play sports, I'm not saying they're bad or indifferent, but they don't understand. So they just think you're being a hard ass or an asshole, and it's not that. Is you need to know that this is what you need to do to help yourself figure out.
So I wasn't a sports guy growing up, and I was a car guy, and I had to learn that later in life. I wish I'd have learned it at a younger age, but probably would have benefited me quite a bit.
I had a coach I used to train with. Make sure it's recording before I tell the story. Yes, we're good. That was a lot of good content. Every I used to, when I was younger, I used to go every Sunday and go practice with him for 4 hours. And
on Sunday.
On Sunday.
Yeah.
And
that's admirable.
So what I would, my dad would say, my dad make me, but he gave me the option to go and you're not. Because if you're not going, don't talk to me the rest of the week. Because you're gonna go do your own thing. And I'm like, oh no, I don't want to do that. So, it goes $20 a pop every Sunday. Boom, boom, boom. And every Sunday, his thing says, if you're not getting 5,000 shots up a day, you're behind.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Which he's put a lot. His name's Chris Max, and he put a lot of players Division I play overseas.
Yeah.
He actually he used to be the assistant coach for the college I went to play for, and then they had a change of management, and then he decided it wasn't a good fit for him no more. But he's doing great. He's doing kids stuff now. Now he works at the high school coaching basketball and teaching. So he's falling right in line. But he says one thing, and it always stuck with me. And I tell them, he goes, "Life's about doing things you don't want to do. I don't want to wake up every day. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to I don't want to have hard conversations with people. But you have to.
Yeah.
Every one of you that's here doesn't want to get up and come here and try to shoot." Which we used to shoot 5,000 shots in 4 hours.
Wow.
That's a lot.
That's impressive, man.
Yeah. Well, it was constant. This guy had so much energy for his age. Another guy like, I hope I have energy like you.
Yeah, yeah.
And he just, the passion he had, he just always moving. All right, we're moving. Boom. Shooting. Boom, boom. All right, next one. Next guy.
Putting in the work.
Yeah, putting in work, and that's what it was. And then this is what transitions over everything. You can't substitute time. They say now a lot of social media people I follow that like have grown huge. They say it's going to take you 10,000 hours to get good at something. So it's up to you how long that's going to take you. He goes, but if you do 10,000 hours of something, you're going to be good at it. And then a lot of them referencing like editing video and then talking with people, presenting. You present for 10,000 hours or you do work on 10,000 hours worth of PowerPoint, you're going to get good at PowerPoint. Sure. And that's what I tell them, and they don't understand that because I don't think this generation knows the difference between a job and a career.
Interesting concept, yeah.
Because like that's a job. When you get pissed off, I don't need this job.
Yeah.
But like I said, this career has brought me, many places. I've traveled across the United States with a lot of machinery. I've met amazing people like you, and just going through. I got to go to the ATC and compete. Met a whole bunch of people there, and made moves there, and got to know a lot more people who got to meet me and stuff. And like without, if I didn't put in the effort, none of that would have happened.
Sure, sure.
And I'm lucky that I got to do the stuff I got to do and experience things I got to experience. But without putting in that work after work, or even in school, my instructor would, he knew I was moving. I'd go on to the Caterpillar training side and do all the training, and I'd be trying to put a turbo on a tractor. I didn't have one, or I'd be doing this, in school, and he's like, "Stop doing that. Stop doing that. Stop doing all this stuff. Go put up the hydraulic table." Then I'd do some of the hydraulics, and then he's like, "Stop doing that too. Just do what I asked you to do, and you can go home. I'd just stop doing that. You're breaking stuff now." But he didn't like it because it costed him money, but he loved it because that's what he wanted all of us to do.
Sure.
And when it come time to go,
you were driven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it come time to work for Caterpillar he goes, "Don't go to Caterpillar." And he goes, "I worked there a long time." He goes, "You'll be a great technician there, but you're not going to be a star." He goes, Go work for a Komatsu dealership." He goes, "The way you are, you'll be a superstar there." And he wasn't wrong. Granted, it was all sales pitch to get Komatsu stuff into the school program.
Sure.
But it worked out in my favor.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, when I tell these guys, I go, "What are you guys doing outside of work?" YouTube is the biggest thing right now. And there's nothing you can't learn from a million people off YouTube. And I tell people, if you don't know something, get your ass on YouTube and find 100 people that explain it a certain way. If you don't like that way, go find another 100 people that explain it a different way. And it's probably not going to be the guy with all the views. It's going to be that guy that has 60 views that's probably going to explain it the way you want it, because he understands what you understand. I go, but there's no reason for you to come up and say, "I don't know." You can find out. You have the tools. It's crazy, what you can learn.
Tremendous amount of resources,
yeah.
Especially now with AI.
Yeah. Oh,
my
yeah.
goodness, yeah.
And like I said, they don't, I guess because they didn't grow up without it. I was the last generation that grew up without, computers or what they were. Like, I remember my mom brought home an iMac for the first time. I was like, "What is that?"
Yeah.
What is that? That's the coolest thing. And then they had the old Motorola analog phone. My dad had the Nokia phone. Like, they were, technology grew with me.
Yeah.
So since they don't know what it was like to not have it, not be able to do this crazy stuff, they don't appreciate it as much as,
So I grew up in that era.
Yeah.
Right. We didn't have cell phones.
Yeah.
And cell phones came along, when I was in my 20s, right? And computers too. I remember when we bought our first PC, and it was MS DOS.
Yeah.
There was no Windows yet,
No.
right? And it was a challenge to learn it, and I learned a little bit about it. But when I started working for a dealership, I was the first field service technician at the dealership to get a laptop computer with the programs for it was CAT-SYS and CAT-ET. And I remember going out in the field. It was the first version of the Panasonic Toughbook, right? And I'd go out in the field and try to impress customers with this. Well, they hadn't figured the software out yet, and it would lock up and crash, and just be a mess. But still, just stayed after it and learned it and learned it and learned it and learned it. And not that I'm proficient with it now, but I do all right. Nowadays we see a lot of customers using AI.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have one customer, a gas customer, our truck, that has their own. They call it Max AI, and any service information that you're looking for relative to their equipment, you just type it in, and it gives you the info. Within 10-15 seconds, and there's just, the faster you can get the information, there's such a tremendous benefit in that. But now a lot of the young folks don't realize that this all started with books.
Yeah.
Right? And the books still have some value.
They do.
because I was working with a guy. Oh, I think it's probably been about a month ago, and we were talking about. And this is obviously, my background being the Caterpillar dealer thing, but this was with Cat Sys, and I said, if you're not finding it in disassembly and assembly, then you might need to go to the specification section.
Yeah.
And I asked him, do you know how the service manuals were laid out? We had specifications, and then systems operation, testing and adjusting, disassembly and
Yeah.
assembly, and they don't realize that's how the program is laid out, right? So they're not exactly sure which direction to go or where to look, but still they want answers right away. So we get a lot of folks now, um, in our classes when we do our introduction thing. We have a little sheet that they fill out, and what resource did you use on the last failure you worked on? Man, Google is a pretty popular answer, and I use it as well. But I tell them I use Google Images because I'm a very visual individual, and if I see a picture of something that's relevant, then I can usually find something that I'm looking for. But the information's out there, like you said, and if you want to gain that knowledge, continue to be a learner, right? And seek it. And YouTube's great. Sometimes I hear guys, the YouTube mechanic. So my neighbor, this is for you, Greg, is he's a self-professed YouTube mechanic, and he's got an old Jeep, and I've helped him work on the Jeep and helped him get the Jeep running, and then one time he'll be like, well, YouTube says that I need to do this. I'm like, well, then why you call me?
Yeah.
Right. But I always try to help him out, and we get his Jeep running, and he's a happy camper. So.
Yeah, no, you talked about the AI. So Komatsu has its own AI thing too. It's called AI Bot.
Oh, okay.
The minute I was the first person to get access to it besides Ronnie, and I started looking at it and I started searching. So you put in the machine you're working on.
Yeah.
And you just ask it stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, how do I test this? Oh, this is what you do step by step. And it shows the passage in the book, and I go, this can't get out. This can't be company wide. He goes, why? I go, you're gonna destroy everything I created. He goes, what do you mean? I go, no one's gonna try. You gave
all the answers, they think.
Yeah. You gave all the answers, and you gave somebody with no experience, doesn't even have to know. I mean, you're talking step by step where to plug stuff in, how to plug it in, what to look for, what the values are supposed to be. That our secretary in the front desk can go test hydraulic pressures on an excavator right now. All you gotta do is ask AI Bot. I go, what skill do I have to teach these guys? If all you gotta do is just ask it what to do. And if you got a problem, it'll tell you a list of things to do. Like, oh, I did this. Okay, well, try this. Oh, if you got this, then go here. And it's fully interactive. Like you're talking to somebody with 100 years of experience.
It's impressive.
And a picture perfect image memory. That's for somebody that can appreciate it. It'll be great. Like,
and it's more like you're talking to 100 somebody with 100
exactly.
years experience. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And so when you take somebody who doesn't understand what it took to get to that, or how great that is, they just abuse it. They use that as a crutch, and they're not going to learn. They're not going to get better. They're just going to do what they read and then move on. They're not going to retain.
There's a lot of that out there.
Yeah,
too. Yeah.
That's the biggest thing I'm having issues with, retention with technicians. Like when I teach them something or they learn something, how they do it again, and it's hit or miss with some kids, but it's like whatever. But the craziest part is I got kids now that grew up not knowing how to work a computer because they've been using their phones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I tell them to go do something on the computer, like, oh, I don't know how to do that. What do you mean? You grew up with technology. You should know how to do all this. He goes, I can do it on my phone.
Yeah.
Because they never really had to go work on a Windows desktop or a Mac computer because their iPhone Googled everything for them.
Sure.
You go on Word on there, they can do everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't compete with that.
To take that just kind of a step further, there's a lot of folks that have, not to pick on millennials, but a lot of millennials that struggle in social situations because they were solely focused on text messaging throughout their teenage years. so they didn't get that interaction. For me, man, there was nothing cooler than going and getting the phone off the wall and being able to sit on that phone and talk to a girl on the phone for,
Yeah.
15 minutes or an hour or something like that. How exciting was that? But to hear their voice instead of just the words, and then somebody's like the emojis, and I'm like,
Yeah.
end of conversation. Yeah, but man, I don't know. It's everything is just changing and changing so fast, but it sure seems like things come full circle too, right?
They do. Yeah. Well, it's like they're saying about like all the streaming services now. They're just redoing cable a different way. So instead of
Yeah.
paying for cable, you know, now you're just gonna pay for.
And you still got all the flipping
Yeah.
commercials, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You can pay more to not watch the commercials.
Kind of like the bottled water thing. They found a way to make money off the same thing another way.
That's the one thing that's free in this world, right?
Yeah. So yeah, so like I said, it's crazy, the stuff like that, and how far technology has come, and how far it's gonna go long after, we
Yeah.
we have, you got the next generation machines, and going back on technology now Komatsu has moved to what everybody else did, which you got to have software to do anything,
Sure.
to try to, I guess, to limit customers from doing stuff, which I think that's a step back for them, but what do I know?
They've gotten really good at locking that stuff down too,
Yeah.
because there used to be a lot of clandestine programs out there, or cracks, or whatever you want to call them, that would get you passwords
Yeah.
or access, to different manufacturers' programs, and now they've got it figured out with authenticator apps and
Yeah.
stuff like that, where the security is actually pretty good for the regular Joe.
Yeah.
I'm sure the hackers can still find a way to get in, but
I mean, everybody, there's people that are smart, and there's people that are smart for certain things, and
yeah,
if they,
yeah.
well, a door only keeps an honest man out, they'll find a way to get in there. Well, I think we've been going for a good amount of time, so it's 9 o'clock now.
Yeah.
So,
Wow, that was fast.
right? It goes
Yeah,
really quick,
yeah, that
doesn't
was
it?
cool. Yeah. Thank you
So,
for this, by the way.
no problem. Like I said, it's a long overdue. Just
Hopefully we can do it again. Maybe next time we're back in town.
oh
or
yeah,
something.
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. It's real hard to find people that know how to talk, because I get the wiki bobby, what I do with my hands.
Yeah.
And they're like, I gotta pry stuff out. So I always love when I can get somebody that has experience and can talk, and not shy, because then it flows so fast.
Nice.
And you
Nice.
get the purity from everything.
Usually I'm talking with my hands because I'm Italian, right?
Yeah.
And so I kind of got a speech impediment going on here, having to hold them still. But no, this was great, man.
No, yeah,
I really
your
appreciate the time.
Yeah.
And asking me to be on your podcast. So I'll definitely be promoting it as well.
I appreciate
So
that.
when you get this all set, and ready to get out there, shoot me a link to it.
I will.
And I'll put it on my LinkedIn page and definitely share it.
Oh, I
So,
appreciate it.
Yeah, maybe
Like
even.
I said, and I'm working towards the Zoom stuff. So, maybe we can do some little stuff with that if you have time. Little
We absolutely
quick
can. I do
shorts.
that from my phone or my computer. That's kind of what I prefer, and the reason is because I interview a lot of people
Yeah.
for the magazine column, and when I do the Zoom, I can record it, and then I can go in and take out the excerpts or quotes that I want from that recording.
Yeah.
But I can also use the recording as a future podcast,
Yeah.
right? Which works out really well too. So
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
surprised you don't do your own podcast.
I'm going to. Yeah, I'm going to. I do. Let's see. I've been on a couple of different ones. I think this is the third one now. But when we do the gas compression podcast, that's with a guy named Michael Hanning, that is the president and CEO of Disco Incorporated, Diversified Services Company, and they're a machine shop that sprays cylinders for reciprocating natural gas compressors up in the Panhandle, Amarillo, Texas.
Yeah.
And I got hooked up with Michael through another friend, and did several podcasts with him, a few different series like on wear types and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But now that's all being administrated by Michael, but produced by Brent Haight, who's the publisher, Third Coast Publishing, that publishes the trade publication I write for, Gas Compression Magazine. And it's a fun podcast. He has some really interesting people on there.
Yeah, he does.
Got some big players too. Yeah,
Oh yeah, no, and that's what I listened to them after you said it, talked about it the last time, and I got into heavy listening to them because I was on a long road trip. And it's not how big they are, it's how big their reach is to
Yeah,
get the
sure.
people that are big, in the industry, that people know. I think that's most of the battle. You can get people like that, your success just quadruples every time.
Well, these podcasts, I didn't realize it. So they put it on iTunes, they put it on Spotify, they
Yeah.
put it on YouTube, and there's all kinds of people in Europe. I didn't know there was such a. Of course, I guess there's natural gas compression everywhere
Yeah.
that they use natural gas. A lot of people think it arrives at your house by PFM, right? The
Yeah.
pure flipping magic, but no, it's worldwide, and people are listening to these podcasts just all over the world.
Yeah. So I have 16 countries that listen to my
That's
podcast.
awesome,
Yeah.
man. Good job.
And
Yeah.
Canada has grown a lot in the
Really?
last
Yeah.
few months. But like Japan, I got Japan last week, Africa, Saudi Arabia, um, uh, what's that? Sweden.
Yeah.
Like I got everywhere, South America.
Nice.
Like
Nice.
and Spotify, and that's why I chose to stick with Spotify because they give you analytics, which I have an Apple account, but they don't give you nothing. Like
Sure.
they're very limited on what you can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though a lot of my listeners listen to me on Apple Podcasts,
Yeah.
um, some argue like the data shows more listen there than they do on Spotify.
Yeah.
That's where most of my data comes from.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but um, like it'll show me. So if I click on the country, like the United States, it'll show me which state, and if you click on the state, it'll show you where
And the demographics.
in the demographics.
Yeah. Nice.
And
Nice.
I'll show you all that.
I use that on LinkedIn. I think we talked
Yeah.
about LinkedIn
Yeah.
yesterday, but
Yeah.
but it seems lately I've been really putting a lot of thought into my LinkedIn posts and
Yeah.
and posting high quality pictures, and now we're getting hundreds of comments and tens of thousands of impressions, which if I got like 500 or 600 impressions, I thought I was doing pretty good. And I wrote one here a few months ago. It was something along the lines of, we need more durability, not more degrees.
Yeah.
Right. And geez, that one got almost 80,000 hits. And I was like, wow, is it viral? I don't know, but regardless, I'd always remain humble and just keep, producing stuff that hopefully is educational, gets people asking questions. That's all I'm focused at. So.
And where can people ask all? Where can people find you? Just give a shout out to all your stuff.
So LinkedIn under Jim Dettore or Failure Analysis Services. Also, our website is www.fas, which stands for Failure Analysis Services -training.com. And then you can also follow us on Facebook, Failure Analysis Services on Facebook as well. So there will be a YouTube channel in the future. Hopefully that's going to happen in 2027.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be pretty cool. I'm going to put some work into it, and then the podcast will come with that as well. So looking forward to it. So when I do a podcast, you're going to have to be a guest, man.
Oh, I'd love to be.
Awesome.
I'd love to be. Well, like I said, I appreciate you, and go look for them out there if you guys need any, failure analysis or anything like that, or you just need a consult. Call and reach out, get to your dealership, get your guys better, and make you better as a whole. I appreciate you. Thank you, sir. And I think we'll end it off there before we go down another rabbit hole.
You're welcome. We make people better problem solvers.
Yes, sir.
All right.